our window's always open.
Okay. Well, it's not open when you miss the playoffs, and it's not open when you have 500 seasons.
Wow.
And he needs to start, and the Bengals need to start putting together dominant regular seasons. So Joe has once in his career been a part of a team that won more than 10 games. For context, Lamar's done it 4 times. Josh has done it each of the last 5 years. Mahomes has done it every year that Cliff Kingsbury wasn't his head coach. And so, it's just been 7 years in a row. And again, Joe has been excellent for the bulk of this season. Mm-hmm. But if they miss the playoffs, particularly if they miss the playoffs, because they lose this game. Now, you know what I mean? Not they win and other things happen, but they have a chance. This graphic here about the guys he's competing with, his AFC contemporaries, those other guys, that's 3 of 5 years of his career.
Well, okay, but how many healthy?
Well,
2, 1. This will be the first year he's healthy. I'm not holding last year again.
But last year they were 5-5 with.
I get all that, but half the games he played, he really wasn't fully 100%.
Okay, but it's
and then his rookie year,
they were 2-7. I mean, Lamar carried the Ravens, saved the Ravens his rookie year. And then so the comp brew we've used, if we show historically the great quarterbacks of the last 25 years. So Brady missed the playoffs once, Peyton twice, Aaron 4 times, including this year, in 20 years of playing. Mm-hmm. Big Ben 5 times. The comp we've used is Drew Brees. You know what I mean? Because there were a lot, as far as amazing, not stylistically, but amazing individual season, great offense, and team just wasn't good enough. And so it doesn't mean he's not a great player, but in the jostling for the quarterback hierarchy, Allen and Lamar obviously took big steps forward this year that Joe didn't. To me, that's fair.
I agree with some of what you said, but overall my answer is nothing. It means nothing because he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Tom Brady, Joe Montana, or right now I'll say even Peyton Manning. Those are the guys that basically every year they're healthy, they were in the playoffs. Outside of that, you saw Drew Brees. I'm going to give you some more. Dan Marino missed the playoffs a lot. John Elway missed the playoffs several seasons. I'm talking about in their primes. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, you had up there 4. So Brett Favre missed the playoffs a few times during his prime years. So this happens. I still think Burrow is right. Yeah, it sounds funny and we can make fun of it now, but he's right. As long as he's healthy, the window for the Super Bowl is open. And if they sneak into the playoffs this year, they're not a favorite, but they're dangerous, as we've said. And so some of the great quarterbacks, because he's got to do a lot to get on that Rodgers, Marino, and all that tier, too.
But what about just Josh and Lamar? Josh and Lamar make the playoffs every year.
That's fine, and I get it when you're comparing the greats. If we look back years from now, you nitpick with that stuff. But he's also been to a Super Bowl, which they haven't. He's also beaten Mahomes in the playoffs, which they haven't. So he's got his stuff, too. He's got to start racking up wins, as you said. Yeah. And he's only, with this year, he's only a 2-time Pro Bowler. So he's got to start getting some hardware and all that. But
okay. I guess add Joe Burrow to the list of quarterbacks that we can't have honest discussions with. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Joe Burrow was drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals that are such a disaster of a franchise that people were trying to tell Joe, refuse to play for Cincinnati, refuse to play for Cincinnati, refuse to play for Cincinnati. This is insane. Seriously, this is just so absurd. Patrick Mahomes went to a perennial playoff team, coached by a coach who literally took his team to, 5 NFC championship games. I mean, Josh Allen went to definitely a bad team. Lamar Jackson went to a team that a few years prior literally won a Super Bowl. What are we doing here? We know the Kansas City Chiefs and the Ravens are infinitely run way better than the Bengals. The Bills are up and coming at that point, and Josh Allen was a huge part of that, and Sean McDermott, and I've criticized Sean McDermott plenty, but definitely a stabilizing force in that team, a team that, you know, made moves. But to put this on Joe Burrow, one, he's absolutely had unfortunate luck with injuries. That is a real thing that happened, unfortunately. And this idea that Joe Burrow is a problem, he is part of the problem, or that he's not the solution for the Bengals, like, it really is insane. It really is. It's just kind of crazy. Joe Burrow got drafted to a team that won 2 games. 2 games. What are we doing here? Like, seriously. Like, this is just, it's just bonkers. It really is. Aaron Rodgers got to sit for years. Tom Brady obviously goes to Bill Belichick. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. And I've criticized Harbaugh, but, you know, still, Harbaugh has obviously been a very successful coach, especially more during a defensive era. Won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. Like, trying to pull down or even make fun of Joe Burrow for him talking about the window, because Joe Burrow is that special. If he did play for Andy Reid, if he did play for the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, the Rams, any of these teams that are actually well run, he would have, the amount of success that he would have would be just, apparently it would shock these guys. Because it would be like, to think that he's not a top, an elite, and a special quarterback, it's just kind of absurd. To try to put this on Joe Burrow, or that Joe Burrow is responsible for this. People are like, well, what about that one game that he wasn't great in? Okay, right. Because these quarterbacks have no room for mistakes. They have no room to not be perfect. He fumbled the ball this one time, and he's also thrown the ball for like 10 million yards and 100 million touchdowns. It's just like what are we doing here? We expect when these quarterbacks are carrying such the load of the team that they're supposed to be able to step up and get the job done every single time. And you guys like to pretend that other quarterbacks do that, depending on if you're a fan of Mahomes, if you're a fan of Allen, if you're a fan of Lamar, and they all don't. They all don't. It's just dumb. And then they'll be like, oh, well, he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And it's like, okay, yeah, great. He's got something with him. It's not to say that he has nothing, but it's like people want to take that away from him too. And it makes no sense. Joe Burrow went to a historically awful and terribly run franchise with a cheap owner. That's a real thing. They were the last team and the number 1 overall pick for a reason. The Chiefs won a playoff game with Alex Smith. Won the division multiple times, I believe. They were winning double-digit games. The Ravens winning a literal Super Bowl. It's, I don't even know, man. Seriously. Like, this is, we are so obsessed sometimes with the outcome of things that we fail to actually evaluate what we're looking at. And anyone who's just not biased, I think it's also the problem with fandom to a degree. Because it's just like, I was just talking about this in the comment section, it's just like, we treat quarterbacks like religion. The one true way. There can only be one. We think, no, it's Mahomes is the guy. He is the legend. And these other quarterbacks, they're just not on his level. No. It's actually Lamar Jackson. He is the legend. And these other quarterbacks are not on his level. No, it's Josh Allen. And it's just not the reality. You want to know the honest truth? Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. They are most likely 4 of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. and they're all playing at the same time. It's actually pretty remarkable. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's why sometimes I have the energy to kind of like get in the debate who's better, and other times I'm like, I don't even want to, because these quarterbacks are all extraordinary. But they all have different skill sets, and they've all been drafted to completely different teams with different coaches, different weapons, different GMs. And it's just not shocking that the quarterback who went to the best team with the best coach with the best GM is the one that keeps winning. That's not shocking. That's not shocking. Just take what Nick Wright says. Nick Wright ask Nick Wright, who has the best coach out of those teams? He'll say Andy. Who's got the best defensive coordinator? He'll say Spags. Who has the best owner? Who has the best GM? Chiefs. And of course, when you say who has the best quarterback, he'll say Mahomes. But you don't think all those other things benefit Mahomes? And if they benefit Mahomes, they have to. They have to benefit Mahomes. Then not having those things will then obviously hurt Lamar, Burrow, and Allen. And the reality is that Burrow has actually drawn the shortest stick out of all of them, going to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the obvious fact. That's why he was also the highest draft pick. He went to the worst team out of all of them, with the cheapest and worst owner out of all of them. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. They can't even keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins together. Like what are they even doing? And unfortunately, he's gotten injured. That's just bad luck and a bummer. If you guys want to like attack someone for getting injured, it's like, as someone who's been injured so many times, it's like you're walking that path alone, man. I'm just not gonna be like, well, Andy got injured. It's like, okay, he got injured. That's a bummer. We're being robbed of greatness. And I've said this again and again and again. What makes Joe Burrow so special, obviously, is his elite arm and his, elite, ability to be a pocket passer. That a quarterback like a Lamar Jackson and a Josh Allen allows those quarterbacks to be able to overcome a little bit lack of a roster, more so than even Patrick Mahomes. Because again, Patrick Mahomes does not use his body like that, at least not now at this point in his career. And so if you want to say that Joe Burrow is the least resilient to adversity out of all those quarterbacks, I think that's fair. But it doesn't take away what makes Joe Burrow special. You put Joe Burrow on the Kansas City Chiefs, he's a Super Bowl winner. He's a Super Bowl winner. You put Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson on the Chiefs, they're all Super Bowl winners. All of them. All of them. I'm not saying that they would all win the amount of Super Bowls that Mahomes has, because that's where Kansas City Chiefs like lose their mind. They're like, you're saying that Patrick Mahomes is only good because... That's not what I'm saying. If Patrick Mahomes played for the Ravens, the Bills, and the Bengals, I would be saying the exact same thing. I would be saying Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great. He is awesome. He is at the worst team. There's a reason why Joe Burrow has 3 Super Bowls and Patrick Mahomes has none. I would be saying the exact same thing because it's so easy for me to say. This is like I don't know why this is controversial. It shouldn't be. And I still try to figure out, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where we're just like, nah, man, you either do it or you don't. And if you don't, then it means you clearly can't. It's like, that's not the situation here. That's not the reality. A part of me thinks it's because the media is dominated by people who never played sports, so they don't know. And other times it has athletes in there. And athletes, especially retired athletes, love to take this like all or nothing, hard-nosed, like binary way of looking at things. Hey, man, you got to find a way. That's how it's done. And it's like, okay, sure. Whatever you say. Like that, they always try to do that. Everyone's injured. It's like, okay, sure. Everyone's injured. I get it. They love to just bring the coaching platitudes, the coach speak. And then especially the media who now doesn't play sports, they listen to that and it just becomes this feedback loop. And it's just like, it's just not the reality. You don't think Joe Burrow is a Super Bowl winner if he got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles? If he got drafted by the 49ers? The Rams? If Joe Burrow was on the Lions right now? You mean to tell me you don't think the Lions would be an amazing, elite team if Joe Burrow was there? What about the Vikings? The Packers? Just name almost any other team out there. Joe Burrow would be better off, man. I mean, seriously. Joe Burrow is special. Because he's saying these things about Tom Brady did this and Aaron Rodgers. Well, I'm so happy you brought that up. Because speaking of Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady, look what Joe Burrow has done. Okay? Look what those quarterbacks have done. Those quarterbacks in those seasons went to a Super Bowl, playoffs, etc., because their teams were better. Now look what Joe Burrow is doing. Tom Brady's going undefeated. It's just like, what else do you want this guy to do? This right here is all the proof you need to know that a quarterback, no matter how important the position is, can only take a team so far. He is not the reason for the lack of success of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's not. Therefore, missing the playoffs or lack of Super Bowls or lack of consistently making the playoffs does not fall on Joe Burrow. And so if you want to take the road where you want to make fun of him, where he talked about how the window is open, as long as he's playing and all of that, that is an accurate statement because he is that great of a quarterback. It's up to the Bengals to carry their weight, to carry their burden, their responsibility for that agreement. And they're not. That's on the Bengals, not on Joe Burrow. So stop holding his feet to the fire because it makes you feel like, well, our guy can find a way, therefore our guy's better. No, it's just not true. It's just not true. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love... Right, he was saying that Joe Burrow is a tier 2 quarterback. Oh my gosh. That was what Bruce said. I can't even with this. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Joe Burrow? Do you think what do you think missing the playoffs would mean for Burrow? And what do you think it's meant in the past? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.